Nick Durant here with Tattoo University, and today I'm going to respond to a question I had about using coconut oil during a tattoo, or what do I use during a tattoo? The trend right now is using coconut oil as a lubricant while you tattoo. Now the problem is that coconut oil is one of those things we found that might work better for a tattoo. When you get coconut oil though, it doesn't come for tattooing. It comes like this for cooking, and it's used to cook with. And it's not really processed in a way that you can use it for tattooing. It's a little flaky when you get it out. It will melt. Right now it's solid. It looks kind of like a snow cone or something. It looks kind of like a snow cone right now, but as it warms up, it will melt into a liquid. So people have chosen to use the coconut oil, but they're finding this information out. They're finding out that it's not really made for tattooing. What can you do to the coconut oil if that's what you choose to use on your tattoo? So usually what you do is you put a little bit of ointment right here, and you dip your pinky in it, and you use that to clean up the area so you don't have a lot of ink and a lot of mess. And you can see with the coconut oil, as soon as it heats up to room temperature and my body heat heats it up, it just turns into a liquid. And the reason why you can't use a liquid is because it's hard to control. Vitamin E is also something very good that you can use on tattoos, but the problem is it is a liquid and you cannot control it. If I tried to put this on my glove here, it's just going to run all over the place. And usually you would put your ointment on your station here, and you can see very quickly that it soaks up into your protective barrier here. So you can't really use something like this, even though this would be a great product for tattooing. This is the process that I came up with to alleviate this problem and to help people out. I would use real shea butter. You can order it online. The reason why I went with this product is because I went down to the store and was able to pick it up right away. This is Palmer's Shea Butter Raw Shea Balm, and it has vitamin E in it. And if you look at the ingredients, it's mostly shea butter. But like I don't like to add a lot of ingredients to the stuff I use. This has other ingredients. So if you have the chance to, you want to get the raw shea butter that is just shea butter. And you can order that online. So what you want to do is take a small amount of this and place it on your station so you can use it while you're tattooing. And you can take a little bit of this and put it on your glove. You can see that this mix will stay solid longer, and I can control this more. But at the same time, when I need to use it, it will melt and get to the consistency that I need. So while you're tattooing, you have this. And if you use a dry paper towel and try to remove this, you just smear it all over the place. And if you have a tattoo stencil there and you keep wiping on this, you're gonna wipe off your stencil. This is a big problem you guys have with your stencils. The solution is to use a little bit of the coconut oil shea butter mix, and you're gonna lay that down. Use a little soap and water on your paper towel with a little bit of the coconut oil mix, and then we remove that without removing our stencil. That is a lot easier to remove. Again, take a little bit of this, add it on there, a little bit of soap and water, and off it comes. Without the hassle, I'm not scrubbing this. I'm not going like this. That will remove your stencil. When you're tattooing, this helps the needle and your hand glide across the skin while you're tattooing. And then when you need to remove the excess ink, you follow through with a paper towel that has a little soap and water on it. Not green soap with alcohol in it, just soap and water. The advantage to doing this is you have better control of the coconut oil and you have a lot more product. This container is actually the product that I mixed. I just reused the container. I still have over half a container of coconut oil left. The shea butter cost about $7. The coconut oil costs about $7. For $14, I made this much of the ointment that I can use, because every time I tattoo, I'm going to use about that much. You can see that this is going to last me a really long time for a fraction of the cost that you're going to spend buying it from someone else. The reason why these cost so much is the shipping. It's getting it where you need it. Tattoo companies are really small. They're not in a lot of areas. Some of you who live really far away from the places where these are made pay a really big price to get these products. And the cost is for the shipping of the product. The reason why I went with this and this is because I went down to the store and I bought these. And I made these for cheap. And this is a good product that will last you a really long time. And it was a fraction of the cost. And I can still make more when I need to. I actually made more than this, but this is also really good on your skin. You can put this in your beard. You can use this as hand lotion. It is really thick and goes a really long way. The extra that I had for this, I gave to my wife. And she can use it on whatever she needs to use it on. It has multiple purposes. Go online and do the research. You will find out that shea butter is actually good for healing wounds, and it helps wounds heal. It helps the skin during the process of healing. So what you could do is mix some of this for the tattooing process and also use it for aftercare. And the coconut oil is actually a natural preservative. So it will keep funky things from growing in that mix, so it will last a lot longer. And it's better for you than the petroleum products. Today I'm going to answer one of the questions I get a lot, and that is what I use as a ointment while I'm tattooing. You need tattoo ointment. It helps you out. It makes the tattooing process go easier, and it helps you clean up as you go while you're tattooing. Make sure you don't have a lot of tattoo ink all over the client and making a mess everywhere. You know, it helps keep the client's skin from being irritated. It helps your hand glide across the skin. There's a lot of reasons why you need ointment while you're tattooing. Some of these items, like petroleum jelly and the A&D ointment, have been used in tattooing for a really long time, and they work. But as we are getting more concerned with our health and trying to make the tattooing process healthier and have less adverse reactions to the tattooing process, we are moving towards newer things. One of the newer items that's coming out is actually a body butter for tattooing. And there's a reason for that, because it doesn't have ingredients in it that we are now finding are harmful and might cause cancer eventually. So if you're worried about that kind of thing, you're going to kind of want to move away from some of the older products and move towards some of the newer ones. And it's a cost issue also. What you decide to pick is a matter of cost to some people. Some people are not worried about cost and they want to go with name brand products, and other people are okay with going to the dollar store and picking up A&D ointment or petroleum. So it just depends on how you tattoo and what you are okay with using and what your clients are okay with you using on them. And clients aren't going to know about all this stuff, so it's up to you to decide. You can see there's a lot of products here that are geared towards babies. So this petroleum jelly, baby soft scent, they are insinuating that this is okay to use on babies. Also, A&D ointment, typically used on babies. This one has a baby on the front, and it says diaper rash ointment, which typically babies or old people wear diapers. Baby love, here we go on here, creamy baby oil, and we have actual baby oil. A lot of these products are used for tattooing, and this says, I've got a sticker in my way here, baby something ointment. So the thought process is, I'm taking it that if it's okay to put on your baby, it's okay to tattoo with. Petroleum jelly has been used for a really long time, but you need to pay attention to the ingredients in the items you are using for tattooing. Petroleum jelly works, and it's been used for a really long time, but if you look at the ingredients, you find that it's made out of petroleum. This says white petroleum. When you say petroleum, you think of car products, you think of oil and gas. It's made from the same stuff, petroleum, and what they're finding is that it might actually be bad for you. If you're concerned about your health and other people's health, you don't want to use things that are bad for you, like petroleum jelly. And if you look at the A&D ointments, you will see something that looks somewhat close to petroleum jelly, but it's a little different. Petroleum which is a byproduct of petroleum. So petroleum jelly has straight petroleum in it, and A&D ointment has a byproduct of petroleum. So not as bad, but still not good for you. And if you look at Aquaphor, you can see that same ingredient right there, petroleum. So even though Aquaphor and A&D is probably better than petroleum, it's still not good to use if you are worried about having a reaction. Some of these products, like Petroleum Jelly, A&D Ointments, and Aquaphor, are used all the time in tattooing. There's some products that you probably just would not use. They're not convenient while you're tattooing. And if you're using them, I don't know what you're using them for. So I don't know why you would be using these for tattooing, but just in case you are, we have the baby oils, which are made from mineral oil. And the same thing applies. You can have adverse reactions to these. So we're going to get rid of the baby oil. All of the products that have the petroleum and the petroleum and anything that has an adverse reaction, baby oil has mineral oil in it. So we get rid of those. We get rid of all of the things that have the petroleum product or byproduct. And this is a really nice lotion, but we can see that again we have the petroleum in there. So we get rid of all of those. And now we have this, which probably wouldn't be using while you're tattooing. It has zinc oxide in it, so it's not mineral oil or petroleum, but it doesn't have any place in tattooing, so we get rid of this too. You always want to look at the ingredients. I think that's what I'm trying to really hit home here, is look at the ingredients and know what they are and what they do. People who use cosmetics a lot and makeups and stuff, they know about this more than someone like me who just tattoos and doesn't wear makeup or put lotion on all the time. And you can go on to sites that will explain why these other products are bad for you. And they're moving away from those even in makeup and things that you would use on a daily basis. What you want to do is look at the ingredients and see if it's acceptable to use or not. And when I make stuff, I try to use as little as possible, just enough to get the job done. I think one of the problems right now with a lot of the ingredients and the tattooing stuff is that there's just way too much. Like, why are you putting all of that stuff in there when you don't need it? I think people look at it and think, oh, this has a ton of stuff, so it's better. I would actually go for less is better, less ingredients, but it still gets the job done. One of my favorite things to use is vitamin E. If you look at the ingredients on this, there's 3 ingredients. That's your list of ingredients. There's not a lot in there. If you look at the coconut oil, ingredients, coconut oil. That's it, coconut oil. 1 ingredient. If you look at the glycerin, 99.5% of whatever this is, however you say that. So 1 ingredient, couple ingredients, 1 ingredient, not a lot of ingredients. This is going to be better for you. It's not going to have stuff in there that's bad for you. So when you don't have a ton of ingredients, you know what you're using more. you're more aware of what you are putting on yourself or on your client. So the trend right now in tattooing is to use body butters that are healthier for you. And just like a lot of things in tattooing, some of these are really expensive. And you pay a lot to get a little bit. Everybody who tattoos is not filthy rich, and they can't just afford to spend money on a whim and just buy all kinds of stuff. And if you can, good for you. Those of you who can't, let me show you a product here that you can make that will be a fraction of the cost. What you want to do is get raw shea butter online. But if you can't buy that online, or you're a little impatient, you want to get something right now, you can go to the store and find this product right here. And if you look at this product, the number one ingredient is shea. This product has a lot of other products in it, but if you look at the first ingredient on here, it says shea. That means that this is mostly shea. And a lot of these other ingredients are pretty good for you too. So ideally you want to get pure shea butter, but this will work. And in a pinch, you could probably use this straight out of the jar to tattoo with. Another one of the trends right now that I'm seeing in tattooing is using coconut oil. But let me show you why it is difficult to tattoo with just coconut oil. You have to do things to it to make it more ideal for tattooing. When you set up your tattoo station, you usually put some of the ointment down so that you can get to it easily while you're working. Or what you do is take a little bit of your ointment and you add it to your glove. And this way, while you're tattooing, you can use your pinky finger to get some ointment and apply it to the skin. You can see that I've been testing out some ointments, and once you put them down, some of the oils will start to soak up into the paper and it will spread. This has actually been sitting overnight, so I could see which one spread the most. And I have some different mixtures here that I'm testing out. But you can see with this mixture, I can put it on my glove and it's going to stay there. What happens when it heats up, it's going to start to melt. Because of my hand, it being on my hand, it's warming up because of my body temperature. My hands are warmer than this countertop here. So as it sits on my hand, it's going to start to melt. And once you put it on the skin, it will melt. And this is what you want. You want this reaction. You want it to stay solid as it's cool, and you want it to melt once you put it on somebody's skin. And you want it to be clear, and you don't want it to be messy. So one of the issues with the vitamin E is that you cannot put it on your station. It's just going to soak up into the paper, and it's also already a liquid, so it's hard to manage. You can't use this while you're tattooing. So the reason why they use petroleum jelly is because it will stay solid. But we don't want to use the petroleum jelly because it's not good for you. It's not as good. But if we're trying to be healthier, we're going to try to stay away from the petroleum jelly. And you can see the A&D ointment. You can see the A&D ointment looks the same. The thing that always irritates me about the A&D ointment is it has a really bad smell to it sometimes. Really distinct smell that isn't the best. Let's put a little bit of this coconut oil on our towel here and see what happens. So if it gets warm enough in here, this is just gonna melt before we can use it. It's gonna end up looking like this vitamin E. This is how we're gonna solve the problem with the coconut oil so we can use it. We take our shea butter and we're gonna use whatever we use with the shea butter. We're going to add half of that amount with the coconut oil. So for every 2 scoops of shea butter, I'm going to use 1 scoop of coconut oil. So we have 6 scoops of the shea butter. I'm going to add 3 scoops of the coconut oil. Now what we're going to do is get a pot, a separate pot with some water in it, and we're going to turn that up, get that nice and hot. Now this pot's going to sit right in top here, and we are just going to wait for this to mix together, and all of this is going to turn to a liquid, and we're going to mix it together. So we're going to keep doing this until we get all the chunks out of here. We want everything to be mixed together, nothing separated. And everything's going to be liquid in the bottom of the pan. And once that happens, we're going to remove it from the heat and mix it up. Because I'm a little impatient, I'm going to remove it from the heat, let it cool down to room temperature, and then I'm going to put it in the freezer and make it cool off even quicker. So as this starts to cool off, you will see it will start getting this milky consistency to it, and it'll harden up. But this still isn't done. We want to wait until it actually starts to look white, and then we're going to start blending this up some more. So we're going to use a blender here, and we're going to start blending this up. And you can see when it's not quite ready, it still kind of looks like yogurt or something. So if it's the consistency of snot, it's not ready yet. You can mix it up, but you need to freeze it a little bit more until it turns that milky white color. And then once it's frozen, you start blending up and it starts looking more like whipped cream. It'll start whipping up. I've mixed it a couple of times and we're still waiting for it to set up. I have a couple of minutes here, so let me just explain a couple of things to you. If you're looking for this Palmer shea butter, you have to go to this section if you live in America in Walmart or in the store where they sell a lot of products for black people. You'll find a lot of great stuff while you're there. A lot of that is olive oil, shea butter, coconut oil stuff. All of that stuff is great for your skin. So that's where you want to look to find this kind of stuff. And it's probably cheaper if you order it online. depending on where you're at. Or if you can get the straight shea butter online. But the reason why I went with this was just so I could show you guys that I can go down the store and get what I need to make this. The coconut oil you can find in the grocery store. Usually find it where they're selling oils or cake stuff. You can add glycerin to the mix if you want to, a little dash of glycerin or a little bit of the vitamin E. So coconut is a natural preservative, so oils you can add to things to keep it from growing mold and make it last a lot longer. This is why Twinkies last so long, because they have so much preservatives in them. Glycerin will keep things from growing in your ointment. So if there's not enough preservatives in this, if you think you're gonna use this up really quick, you don't need to add any of this. But if you think you're gonna mix a bunch of this and just have it laying around, you could add a little dash of glycerin just to make sure that it doesn't start growing mold, because you don't want to use something on somebody that's growing mold. This will also make things a little more moist, so if you want your mix to be a little runnier, a little less solid, you can add a little bit of this to the mix, or you can add a little bit of the vitamin E to change the consistency of the mix. Here we got it out of the freezer again. You can see it's starting to look a little more white. It's starting to look like the coconut oil again. So now let's blend this up and see what happens. We're still not there. It's a waiting game with this. Let's pop it back in the freezer. Something I find funny is that we are perfectly fine putting this kind of stuff on babies, but when it comes to our clients, we won't put something like this on them. So you know it's good when you start to see it whip up and stay solid like this. You don't want it runny. You want to turn it into more of a whipped cream than a snot consistency. So once you see it starting to look like this, you're on the right track. Just keep going and blend it all up. Once we get this consistency, we're good. Because now we can use this while we are tattooing.